Hello, I'm James Wilson.
And I'm Matthew Rowney.
And on another episode of Hodix Reviews, this review was requested to us by long-time subscriber Alfie Hagan.
Yes, when we got this, and today when we came round to doing it, we weren't looking forward to it because we had to watch the episode, but we are looking forward to lacing the hell out of it. It is, of course, the one and the only Love and Monsters.
Let's do this. So then guys, here we are, probably the most traumatizing 45 minutes that I ever had to pursue again. But today we are going to be reviewing Love and Monsters, written by Russell T Davies, which was probably the most traumatizing news of the lot. I always praise Russell T Davies, but this one, my God, what the fuck was wrong with him?
Yeah, this was requested by Alfie Hagan, as we said. His comment was fantastic. It was like Love and Monsters because I hate. You know, you're not the only one who hates it. I think most people will probably click off this video and think, oh, it's only Love and Monsters, who cares? But I'd stick around because we're going to lace the hell out of this video. It's going to be quite funny because is there any positives? I don't know. Let's go from start to finish and see if we can pick out anything positive.
Now, in every Doctor Who episode, no matter how bad, I always try to see the good side of every Doctor Who episode, like any loyal fan would. But I literally couldn't find one fucking good thing right with this fucker. Right, sorry, I said fucker.
There's a few little things that were okay.
Yeah.
But overall not good. The introduction wasn't bad. You know, with him like running up to the TARDIS and, you know, with him seeing the Doctor and all that stuff. That was okay. But then the video camera introduction completely lost my interest. My interest went out the window then.
Yeah, the documentary style way that the episode was done with Elton in his bedroom with a handheld camera. It was actually quite a shit way of storytelling. And yet the premise had potential. You know, an episode outside of the Doctor and Rose's travels, what it's like for a man who wants to find the Doctor.
Sounds great, doesn't it?
It sounds like a great premise, and it's good. The episode had so much potential, but it's just the actor who played Elton, who I think is now well known for a character in the TV show Mad Dogs. I don't know whether
I've seen him. John Sims in it, isn't he?
Yeah, John Sims is in it as well. Yeah, so that guy's went on to American TV shows now, but. As long as he doesn't touch British television, I'm fine.
But the scene with Doctor and Rose running across, that was too Scooby-Doo-esque.
Oh yeah, they tried to really do a Scooby-Doo sort of. It wasn't
funny at all.
They tried. This is basically what this episode was, just comedic relief. You know, they were just trying to make comedy out of it. And it really was just failed.
You'd think Moffat had written it, wouldn't you?
I know, you really did.
And then after the credits, by the way, normally on a Doctor episode, just before the credits is normally an awesome cliffhanger.
Yes.
And the cliffhanger was just terrible. But yeah, it began alright, actually. The flashback with the Doctor, when he went downstairs and he was describing, when he started to describe himself, it was mildly interesting.
Yeah.
And he was saying, you know, I've met the Doctor once, I've seen him downstairs. And that was interesting, and then he went on to talk about that he likes Spain, football, and loads of other stuff, which once again just lost my interest.
Honestly,
completely.
just bad acting from everyone involved. I mean, the whole Linda group. They tried far too hard to be relatable to the audience. I mean, basically every single character. See, if you're going to do an episode without the Doctor and Rose, if the two main characters are out of the way for this episode, or whatever, then you create characters in their place that are actually interesting.
Yep.
I relate also to Stephen Moffat's story Blink. I can't believe that I'm actually saying that Stephen Moffat's story was better than a Russell story. It's actually as shocking to me as it is to you, but it's true. You have to create interesting characters that you actually want to see. You know, you want to see them live to see the end of the episode. You know, and it was just that this episode just completely failed. Bad casting, it really was just a bad acting from all involved.
Yeah, then there was a flashback of past events, which was a nice touch, I guess.
Yeah.
When he was describing his life, he was, you know, going through all the stuff that happened in past Doctor Who. Was a nice little brush to the past, I guess.
Yeah.
But then the next, say, 20 minutes, of him with Ursula and then meeting up with Linda and then beginning this singing group and, finding out about all the characters. I just was not interested in the slightest. As you said, if they're going to bring these characters in and spend, 15 minutes of the episode introducing them, they need to make them interesting. And I would have rather, sat watching somewhat on a completely different channel. I'd have rather switched over and came back 15 minutes later because it seemed pointless. It didn't grab my interest at all. And the only interesting part, it made the introduction of Victor Kennedy actually seem kind of interesting.
It did.
Because Victor Kennedy was okay.
He was. Peter Kay was surprisingly alright. He played the mystery of Mr. Kennedy. He played that okay. And also he made it sound the cynicism of the character. He really made that come out. But then, when his true form as the fucking Absorbaloff came out, then that's when I started to get pissed off. That monster was created by a fucking 8-year-old.
Yes, we'll get to that at the end since we're going through it in chronological order, I guess. I think the mystery of the characters, because every time they'd completed a step, I think it was, he'd always call back someone to stay back, and then you'd hear them scream. That was good. I liked the mystery because you were always the one thing this episode didn't do, we said this in Unearthly Child, a great thing about Doctor Who episodes is they pose so many questions.
Yeah.
And they'll have you sat there thinking, what's going on? Who is this? What's that? What's going on? This episode had none of that. One of the only intriguing questions that I actually asked in my head during this episode was, what's happening in there? Why are they screaming? That was mildly interesting.
Yeah.
So I must admit, I was interested to see where the actual characters were going, where they were disappearing to. But then, obviously, that led to the Absorbaloff, which we'll get to in the end. Obviously, then there was a bit of a couple of minutes with Jackie, which you want to talk about. That it was out of character.
Well, Jackie was very out of character in this episode. Usually, she comes across as the really stern yet funny sort of mother to Rose. She's always worrying about Rose, and
she ended up being a mother figure to the Doctor, didn't she?
She really became part of the Doctor's family, really part of his history, really, and that was great. But she was just so out of character in this episode. She came across as a man-hungry MILF,
the failed romance with Jackie, it was pointless. What did it do? Oh yeah, it just made Rose get a bit angry with Elton, and then her anger just went.
Yeah.
The romance was just pointless. It was just another segment of 10 minutes to just fill up. Because it just seemed like throughout this episode they were just kind of making up lackluster content that was just used to fill in 10 or so minutes.
Yeah, like I said, comedic effect. That's all this episode was. Comedy relief. And it failed miserably. If you're going to try and make a Doctor Who episode funny, then do it right. And next time, don't hire Peter Kay.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is what we really want to get to. After building up Victor Kennedy as quite a mysterious, sinister character, after seeing different characters disappearing and screaming, it made you really think, my God, this Victor Kennedy is quite dangerous. He's quite sinister. He must be very evil. And weren't we let down? Because what was the revelation?
He was an Absorbaloff.
And once again, who created the Absorbaloff? Which genius of a writer spent so much time creating this character?
An 8-year-old.
An 8-year-old.
An 8-year-old child on a Blue Peter special competition had written and drawn the Absorbaloff. Now, fair enough, if you're going to let children get involved in Doctor Who, let them do it right. It's...
Surely some other kid must have thought of a better monster. They could use a kid's monster for a comic relief special, or a children in need special. They used some school children written a Matt Smith little special episode, didn't they?
Yeah.
Using children for little things like that is fine, but why the hell did they use a child's idea in an actual episode, in an actual series, when this episode, with the premise, like we said, could have had so much potential, and yet they used a child's idea.
Yeah, it was honestly, like I said, like we will most likely say again and again in this review, it was just constantly a filler. It was just a filler of an episode. Russell had probably barely even written this episode. He probably just left it up to that child to write up most of the plot.
That was the homework for them children.
Yes, they were just trying to fill up time until the Series 2 finale came along.
Even Fear Her was slightly of a filler.
Yes.
But it was better. At least the Doctor was in it.
Yeah, and honestly, nothing was really that good. None of the plot actually came into motion until the Doctor and Rose finally came to it in, like, the final 15 minutes.
It gave the impression that the writers and Russell had kind of run out of ideas.
It really did. It kind of really did. So it didn't really make me lose respect for Russell because because I was to love his stories for years after this episode. But still, it was a bad day. It was a bad day. Every writer has a bad day. So I still respect Russell, but this was his bad day.
Yeah, the Absorbaloff when he was chasing Elton down the streets and backed him up against the alley. He was more hilarious than scary. I wanted to just laugh at how fake his costume looked and how intimidating he was.
I mean, to be honest, I think Peter Kay's role as the Absorbaloff / Mr. Kennedy, I think personally that was just... see, the child was obviously a child's mind. I mean, come on, you're not going to think of some complex alien threat when you're 8 years old.
True.
When you're 8 years old, you're going to draw something, pink alien. You're going to draw something like that. Sorry to anyone who's 8 years old.
I like drawing pink aliens.
But you don't think of those things when you're 8. So, I do completely understand the fact that this was a child. But it's just the fact that...
Why did they use it in an actual episode?
I know, and plus, why cast Peter Kay? I mean, he made it sound like a spoof of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Like the Absorbaloff was like a spoof to all the other Doctor Who monsters out there.
Yeah.
It was sort of like... just like a comedy, trying to make comedic effect to the whole thing.
You said that the Absorbaloff actually took the emotion completely out of the, Absorbaloff absorbing of Ursula.
Yeah.
That could have been very, very emotional.
That really could. That scene had the potential to really make me cry. It.
Well,
not really suffice to say cry, but. Elton's just lost all of his friends, everything that he's ever loved, everything that he's ever wanted in life. He's lost his mother, and weirdly enough, nothing's ever mentioned about his dad. But, he has no one anymore, and the only people he had was Ursula and his friends from the Linda group, and that was about it. And, he basically lost everything he ever loved. And then Peter Kay just goes and fucking ruins it by farting and licking his lips. And it really was just... it took all the emotion out of a potentially really heartfelt moment, and I just really hated Peter Kay for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's what says something about the character is that Victor Kennedy was actually more intimidating than the Absorbaloff, when it should have been the other way around. And that says everything about the Absorbaloff as an enemy. And then obviously the Doctor finally appearing, it was more of a relief. You were just like, thank God, I'm slightly interested. And then obviously he made Ursula into a bit of concrete.
Yeah.
And then they made a very disgusting reference to them still having a love life at the end. Which kind of made if this episode was so bad, at least let it go out on a good note. It went out on a terrible note. Elton was trying to make an inspirational speech at the end, and it just made me want to take a nap. I was just like, just don't act.
It just ended with him trying to look on into the distance and think of an outlook on his journey to meet the Doctor, and all I could think about was him trying to have fucking sex with a concrete brick. That was all I was thinking about at that moment. I was like, "Oh, sorry, Elton, were you talking? I was too busy thinking about you getting a blowjob from fucking concrete." So, honestly,
right. Anyways, this is the bit we've been looking forward to the most. Let's let everything out with our conclusions. We loved talking about this earlier. So
Matthew, you please go first.
Okay. Here we go. This is going to feel so good. Love and Monsters was a lazy, boring, forgettable excuse for an episode. The plot wasn't even slightly interesting and gave the impression that Russell had ran out of ideas and shot a terrible plot together like he'd only spent 5 minutes writing it. It was a lazy filling, which was written with... Well, if it was written with more care and detail, it had very good potential, like we did say, but its structure was plain, the casting was bland, the monster was terribly cringy, who took any emotion out of the episode. The absence of the Doctor could have been supported with an interesting cast and enemy, like in Blink with Sally Sparrow and the Angels, but it wasn't. When the Doctor did appear, it was almost like a breath of fresh air and a relief. This episode failed to grasp any of my emotion or attention. It was boring, pointless, and extremely forgettable, with so much pointless content. 2 out of 10. Thank you very much.
Wow.
That felt so good.
Anyway, on to me.
Enjoy it while you can.
My conclusion is, Love and Monsters was a terribly bland and forgettable filler just to make up for 45 minutes. The character of Elton was uninteresting and failed to seem like a normal, typical London bloke. The premise had potential, but the characters were hugely irritating and tried too hard to make them likeable to the audience. Peter Kay played Mr. Kennedy well, with mystery and cynicism, but that was ruined by his true form, the Absorbaloth. This monster made the demise of Ursula and the rest of Linda seem less emotional and more of an awful gag. All in all, this episode was nothing more than a one-week filler that seemed more of a Doctor Who spoof than an episode of the actual show itself. 3 out of 10.
It's a bit generous.
Yeah.
Very generous,
yeah.
that. Oh, well, we've got our hatred for Love and Monsters out there. Let's go on with a bit more of a high. Let's answer some comments from an Unearthly Child review, shall we?
Yes, let's do.
So now we are going to go on to answering some comments from our previous review, which was on the first ever episode of Doctor Who and Unearthly Child. The first commenter, since he did request this video, is from Alfie Hagan, who says, I agree, and also for the 50th they should go back to the scrapyard or the school, because that would be a great look to the past. Now there's been a leaked image of the old Trotters,
Trotters Lane, scrapyard,
junkyard
scene.
Yeah, but there was a modern day police officer next to it, which kind of hints that it's not in the biopic. It would make perfect sense that it was to be in the biopic.
It would be very, very interesting and a huge blast to the past if the Doctor, for the first time ever, or Doctors, were to actually return to the scrapyard where it all began. That would be just incredibly brilliant and just a huge callback to some classic viewers as well. And, you know, I think that would be great.
Yeah, if they're going to look back at 50 years, why not go to when it very first began?
Yeah.
Go all the way back, yeah.
Our second comment is from Steve Espinoza, who says, funny thought, what if Susan Foreman returns in the 50th with the original actress, meaning Carol Ann Ford, at her current age? She sees the 11th Doctor, the youngest looking Doctor to date, and recognises him, Susan grandfather. That would be quite good, but also a bit weird as well. He only looks 30 himself. Well, he is 30. But seeing your granddaughter when you only yourself look very young, it would also be pretty weird as well, but also a great callback for classic viewers.
Yeah, once again, if they're going to go all the way back, why not go back to the very beginning? And, you know, the amount of people who've actually said, bring back Susan. Bring her back. She's still out there.
Yeah.
Of course she's still out there. And we've seen at the proms, we've seen the actual actress, Carol Ann Ford. She looks very similar, and she's actually aged quite well.
Yeah.
So I think it would be pretty fitting.
Yeah, but if she's a time lady, if she is also from the planet Gallifrey, then doesn't that mean that she can also regenerate? Will she have been like several different women by then, or men?
Well, if she's been on Earth, and in the safe hands that the Doctor left her in, there was no reason for her to get killed or get hit by a car.
Well, William Hartnell was really in no danger. He was just an old man. You know,
yeah, so think about it, if they are going to stick by the narrative of 50 years, then that would make Susan 65 years old. So yeah. I think it would easily work. And as we said, we've seen Carol Ann Ford, and she's aged very well. So
yeah,
there's no reason.
Our third and final comment is from Ethan DJC, who says, cool video, I still need to get round to watching An Unearthly Child. You should, it's a brilliant episode. Do you think Jack and Rory could be connected in any way? Because think about it, Rory has died several times, so has Jack, and they both know the Doctor. P.S. Could you review one of these? Infinite Quest, Animated App, End of Time Part 1 and 2, Impossible Astronaut, and Day of the Moon. Well, thank you for requesting those videos. We will do all of them, and especially End of Time Parts 1 and 2.
Yeah, our favourite episodes, if no one knows, so to actually review them would be a privilege.
Yes.
But about what you said about Jack and Rory, I think it's just a sheer coincidence, just because they have the same characteristic in that effect, and the fact that they have something in common. So many other Doctor Who characters throughout history have got the same thing in common. You know, just because these two are both significant male companions who both died and came back to life does not make them linked at all. I think it's just two reoccurrences. Plus, Jack came back to life because he's immortal. Rory came back to life because of some complicated shit, so no.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, usually in a show like Doctor Who, coincidence doesn't matter. Apparently it doesn't exist, but I think in this particular instance, it is just a coincidence.
So guys, thank you for watching this review on Love and Monsters. We've loved bringing it to you. Thank you very much once again to Alfie Hagan for requesting it. We've managed to get a lot of anger out about this episode that we've had held in for many, many years. But yeah, our next review, we believe, will be The Empty Child and the Dr. Dancer's two-parter, which we should get up in the next couple of days over the weekend, hopefully.
Yes, it should be a very exciting review, a Ninth Doctor story, and probably one of the only greatest episodes that Stephen Moffat's ever written.
And a scary one.
Yes, a very scary one, so that's going to be great. Please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and if you do, we will subscribe right back. Please follow us on our Tumblr account blog, where if you click on the Tumblr icon in the corner of the banner on our YouTube homepage, you will be able to click on that and find all of our blogs and articles and what have you. Also, please click on the Google Plus link above to add us onto Google Plus if you have an account on there.
Yeah, we're going to have plenty of written articles coming up for you. We're going to basically put out what we've said in our videos, but in written form. Write some good articles and stuff like that, so please get that up and running. Add us, follow us, whatever you want to do, and obviously most importantly, comment in the comment section below of this video, because the comments that are put in this video we will answer as many as we can in our next video.
Yes.
We love hearing from you guys.
Yes, we do. I'm James Wilson.
I'm Matthew Rani.
This has been Who Edits Reviews.